From Nutrien Ag Solutions, I'm Senior Atmospheric Scientist Andrew Pritchard with your Canadian Prairie weather story for Wednesday, February 12th, 2025. It is extremely cold out there right now with this Arctic air mass in place across the prairie. Temperatures minus 25 to minus 35. Cold air doesn't hold much moisture, so we do not have a lot in the way of snow to talk about across the prairie. That is all well off to our south. Temperatures do trend back to late February normals in week 2. So we'll take a look at the setup here, getting started on Wednesday morning. Here's the jet stream, kind of just riding down and along the base of this big Arctic air mass. You see the dark blue and green colors here. This is just extremely cold air. Not a whole lot in the way of snow on the ground, but just extreme cold. That minus 25 to minus 35 degree air mass. That is sinking south into the western and central U.S. And again, the jet stream kind of running down and along the base of that. The jet stream loves temperature gradients. That's our thermal wind there. So we've got warmer conditions down here near the Gulf, extreme cold off toward the north. The jet stream races in between those, and that is where we get big storm systems. So we have a lot in the way of winter storm and winter weather conditions across the central and eastern U.S. right now. Severe thunderstorms off to the south, a very active storm track. Here it is as we look at the radar. Again, I showed you the very wide view today because there's nothing going on across the Canadian Prairie on Wednesday morning. We do have a lot going on across portions of the United States, though. A lot of snow, some freezing rain and sleet with rain and thunderstorms on the south side of that storm track. Now, I already showed you the temperatures, a bit smaller here, but here it is expanded. The warmest spot, western and central portions of Alberta, where it's anywhere from minus 17 to minus 20. The colder spots here as you make your way east across portions of central and southern Saskatchewan into southern Manitoba, where those temperatures are minus 30 to minus 36. Taking a look at the precipitation forecast over the next 4 days, another storm system runs along to the south of the U.S.-Canada border, maybe a few flurries at times across the prairie, but generally expecting a cold, quiet finish to the week. So here's the jet stream setup right now. Again, very fast flow coming around the base of this trough that we've got kind of developing across the western half of the United States. And as I just animate this, you'll see a series of disturbances. Maybe I'll bring it back and just kind of step through time with you. You can watch the first one right here. Here's the next one coming in across the Pacific right now. That one sweeps in through the weekend. So this one rides in, taking basically the same path. Get another area of low pressure that develops here across the central U.S. Winter impacts across portions of the Midwest with rain off to the south. We get another system that dives in, kind of does the same thing as we get into the middle part of next week. All of these tracking south of the prairie. Here comes another one as we get into, February 20th or so. It's not until we get to kind of next weekend, days 10 to 14, we start to break this pattern up, at least temporarily, where we're not bringing in big, deep areas of low pressure and reinforcing that. We're going to allow high pressure to kind of rebuild across Western Canada. That'll allow our temperatures to moderate, but it won't do much in the way of bringing heavier precipitation into the region, unfortunately. So we'll just kind of play the precipitation forecast over the next 2 weeks here. Again, full view of North America because there's not a lot going on. It's all kind of south of the prairie. This is what we have going on today. We'll take this through the weekend. You watch the next system come in. Here it is on Saturday, February 15th, tracking south of the prairie with high pressure, keeping things quiet across the prairie proper. Take it through Sunday. This is now Monday. You're seeing maybe a ribbon of some flurries across southern Alberta, far southwestern Saskatchewan, Sunday night into Monday. High pressure, though, locked in place across the prairie, really keeping the heavier, impactful precipitation out of the area. So taking it all the way through Tuesday into Wednesday, we're now a week out, February 19th and 20th, still nothing in the way of organized precipitation across the prairie. Now we're into Friday, getting into Saturday, February 22nd, 23rd. We're starting to see those temperatures moderate right now, but there is not, any sort of signal for an organized storm track to make its way into the prairie at this point. So it's going to continue to be pretty, dry, sparse snow, however you want to frame it there across the prairie through the last 2 weeks of February. So side by side, this is the next 15 days from the European on the left, the GFS on the right. You can see where it's active here across the central and eastern United States, where we're talking about anywhere from 4 to 6 inches of total precipitation over the next 15 days. You see some changes in the shape there, but then as you focus on the prairie, you see that hole where we're just not in the right spot. With the active flow going south of the region, at times ridging building in. This is not a pattern that delivers organized heavy precipitation to the prairie. Pretty much the only area that sneaks in some heavier snowfall is far west. You get toward the foothills and then up and toward the Grand Prairie, the Peace River region. Certainly wouldn't be surprised to see you picking up several inches of accumulating snow, as we head through the next 2 weeks. But your probability of picking up 3 inches or more is right here from the European ensemble on the left, GFS ensemble on the right. You see the big hole across the prairie. Again, maybe higher chances for some accumulating snow as you get toward the foothills, the higher terrain there, and then getting up toward the Grand Prairie and Peace River area, portions of western and northwestern Alberta. But otherwise, along Highway 16 through much of the prairie proper, it's going to be a pretty quiet next 2 weeks as far as organized significant snowfall goes. Again, extremely cold, and it's going to be extremely cold for the next 5, 7, maybe 10 days in some areas before those temperatures start to moderate. I'll show you what this looks like here. This is your next 10 days, extremely cold and dry across the prairie. Best chance for snow going to be across the foothills, the higher terrain there. And then as we get into days 10 to 15, this is February 22nd through the 27th, you see the warmer temperatures starting to return there, but the pattern doesn't suddenly shift toward an active one across the prairie either. If that's going to happen, I think it'll be later on as we get into the month of March. This is your late February look. Again, ridging builds in across the prairie. We'll see those temperatures improve a bit. Won't be quite so extremely cold, but this is not an active stormy pattern across the prairie by any stretch of the imagination. So there it is. Calgary, extremely cold this week. You get those temperatures back above freezing by the end of next week. Edmonton, a very similar look. Here you go, Saskatoon, very consistently cold. Minus 30, minus 32 for the overnight low, minus 20 to minus 22 for the daytime high there. Basically, for the next week, very similar in Regina and basically the same thing here in Winnipeg. As you head further off to the east, it's just going to be, consistently colder for the next 5 to 7 days. Pretty much everywhere across the prairie. Look for those temperatures to moderate, trending back toward at least late February normals in the last 5-ish days of February. Is it going to start snowing across the prairie in any sort of meaningful way? Probably have to look out to the month of March before we're going to see that.